Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for September 7th, 2023. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Before we proceed, let's introduce ourselves. To my far left, please.
Good evening, Richard Tripp.
Crystal Morin, Secretary.
I'm Lynn Perkins, the chair.
Jim Dietzel.
Bob Wentworth, Building Inspector.
Good evening, Mr. Wentworth. Welcome. We don't see you very often. You're good. You're happy to be here.
Big smiles.
And our clerk, Ginny Rio, is in the back. She'll be taking the minutes for the evening. Before we proceed, please shut off all cell phones, iPads, anything that could create a distraction of the proceedings. In the event of an emergency, please exit directly to the rear of the room and use the stairway. And these proceedings are audio-video recorded and scheduled to terminate at 10 p.m.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I'll continue to work to get you a visual representation, but Mr. Corbett is with us.
Okay, but we do have him vocally.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Craig. All right, and so Mr. Corbett will be joining us remotely. And with that said, we are ready to proceed. Just for the record, Mr. Dietzel will be sitting on both cases for the evening, as is
Thank you, Mr.
alternate.
Chair.
The first case up is 23-124, and that is with Colin and Kristen Tyler.
Yep.
And along with him is Mr. Eloquin,
How you doing?
providing guidance, right?
Indeed, that is it. I did the survey of the plan. I did the survey of the plan. I did the plan, the survey.
Okay.
And, but I wasn't supposed to be here this evening based on the fact that I had a conflict with the City of Manchester, but that meeting got postponed. So, Mr. Tyler, Colin Tyler, next to me, said, I'm going to give it a go myself. So I kind of helped him a little bit, but he did a great job. These are his points.
Okay.
And when I freed up tonight, I offered to be a support to him. So
All right,
here I
well,
am.
good enough. Well,
But Mr. Tyler will read his points into the record.
and he can cue you in when he's ready, and thank you for that, Mr. Tyler.
Good evening.
So we start with reading the application for the record. I trust you've been coached on that.
To a degree.
All right, very good. Well,
Okay.
please proceed.
All right. So point one, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because increased property value means increased property tax for me, providing more revenue to the town budget. Ultimately, it may even lessen the burden of other taxpayers if I pay a greater share. Point two, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because my proposed construction will not be an impact to the wetland. The existing street drain is actually a greater hazard through road runoff than a vehicle storage building 40 feet away, separated by soil and vegetation rather than a hard surface of pavement. Point three, substantial justice is done because it will afford me a chance to increase my property utility and value. This in turn will aid in beautification of my lot and increase the value of the neighborhood as a whole. Point four, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished because I will be able to store all of my equipment and vehicles in one structure, resulting in a neater appearance. Construction will increase my property value and by default increase theirs through real estate comparable values. Point five, literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship because there is no other viable location for construction of a vehicle storage garage on my property. The 75-foot wetland setback prevents construction of any sort on the driveway side of my home.
All right, and care to proceed in your own words?
He's got a little bit more.
I see, okay.
I'm sorry. So the proposed use is a reasonable one. I intend to stay in Derry. A covered breezeway attached to a vehicle storage garage will provide easier conveyance to my car in inclement weather and my coming elderly years. It will also allow me to store snow removal equipment in the location that I need to use it. And then point B, if the criteria in subparagraph A are not established, an unnecessary hardship will be deemed to exist because the 75-foot setback ends 3 feet from my home. There is not sufficient space to even replace my existing 8-foot wide covered porch that already infringes 5 feet into that setback. There's simply not enough room to build. And I didn't put it in here, but I would like to point out that the porch came with the purchase of the home. I did not install it.
Okay.
Did you say the Quonset hut came with the home?
No, the porch.
Oh, got it, okay.
So I'll just add a little bit to this and to say, from my standpoint, we did a survey for the Tylers. Not ascertain that there'd be a road there at any point. From my environmental sense, it would be a very, very, very difficult road to ever build on that side. So for what that's worth, this is the only viable spot. You provided pictures, right? As
Yes.
part of your package. So if you look at pictures that he provided in the packet, I thought he did a great job at this. He sort of overlaid where his building is going in relation to the landscape and the other things around it. And you can see it's on the high side. It slopes back down towards that wetland. And it's the most reasonable spot. As part of our survey, these are delineated wetlands by West Environmental. So these are actual measurements where we're holding 40 feet to the proposed garage, but this proposed garage isn't going to create any more encroachment on the wetlands that generally exist now based on the grading that's already there with the driveway and the upland and the Quonset hut that exists there. So from our standpoint, we see it as a reasonable request. His neighbors are, I don't know if they'll be online or if they're here in the audience, but he's talked to all his neighbors and nobody has a problem with what he's trying to do. It's a betterment. With that, we'll pause and try to answer any questions the board would have or perhaps members of the public. Thank you.
How old is this home?
It was built in 1981.
Okay. So I think we've probably had 2 zoning changes in that area since that time, I'm guessing.
I believe the prime wetland was established in 1985.
Okay.
And when I was looking into the research for this, there was not any indication of the wetland that I'm looking for the setback from on the town GIS mapping overlay.
Okay.
So it was actually discovered by West Environmental when they were doing the property survey for the prime wetland.
Okay. Why so big? 32 by 40 foot? That's a big garage.
Well, as I had said in my statement, I have a long crew cab pickup truck. I have a 35-foot long boat, well, 35 feet on the trailer. And my wife has a truck. We have a tractor that has a rollover thing on the top of it and a pair of Sea-Doos on a trailer. So these are scattered throughout small tent garages on the property, and I'd like to clean up my act and put everything in one building and do better.
Okay. I don't know, I get the sense that this is like a line from Caddyshack, you know? Smells, I just want to do better, right?
Well, that's the truth.
That's funny.
Anybody else have questions? Mr. Corbett?
No, Mr. Chair, pretty straightforward.
Okay, Mr. Tripp?
I do have a question. Is the 75-foot foot setback delineated somewhere on the map?
Yes, it pretty much comes right up close to his existing dwelling.
I guess
Moore?
I don't see that, but,
So I missed your question, Mr. Tripp?
I was wondering if the 75-foot setback line is shown somewhere on the drawing. And,
I can point it out to you if you want me to come up there. It might be the easiest way.
So you see the 40-foot line there, Mr. Tripp?
40-foot line, yes.
Yep, off the left of the shed.
Yep.
Yep. Mr. Peliquin is assisting.
Wait, I'm sorry. You see this line? And it goes through the building a little bit.
Oh, all right.
That's the 75-foot setback right from there. Yep. So that line is on the plan, and it's just hard to see.
Well, there's no key for it either, I don't believe.
I think there is building setback.
That's okay. You're usually much more,
It's a busy plan, there's a lot of stuff going on here, so, we could put the label, but,
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I see where it is now.
You all set, Mr. Tripp?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Mrs. Moore, anything?
I do not have any questions at this moment.
Mr. Dietzel?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. Mr. Corby, you said you were all set?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I just out of curiosity, I see you have a couple of tent sheds out there and another shed further back, and is that all getting consolidated into this one building?
Yes,
Okay. And this is a steel building?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
The breezeway where that existing porch is will be of wood construction and similar in appearance to the home,
Okay,
the clapboard siding.
all right. Anything from code enforcement, Mr.
No, it seems
Wentworth?
pretty straightforward.
Okay. So noting that,
I could maybe point out that the stakes that you see on the left side of the photo that's up on the screen is the staked out building area. So you can see that the building literally is on the top of that slope as it starts to slope off. So there's very little to no regrading that needs to happen as a result of this new garage.
okay. All right. So noting that our staff report, the applicants are requesting a variance to allow the construction of an attached garage and breezeway less than 75 feet from the wetland greater than 1 acre. The wetland involved is not prime wetland, although it does drain into prime wetland in the rear of the property. And certainly we would need to, in the event that this is approved by the board, appropriate erosion control measures must be installed. And then, of course, as we get into structuring the motion, we will venture back towards the further requirements of the applicant per approval. That's the report from staff report from code enforcement. That being said, if no one else has...
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir?
just before you go, it cut out on me when Mr. Peliquin was about to explain the stakes to the left. Mr. Peliquin, could you just repeat that for me?
Sure. I don't know if you can see there's some orange stakes just to the left of the tent shed, and those represent the edge of the proposed garage. So my point was to show that those are parallel with the house. So I just wanted to show that was at the top of the slope and not affecting, really protecting the wetland that's down below. No different than what it exists today.
Got it. That was my assumption. Just wanted to double check that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, Mr. Tripp.
The, would it be safe to assume that there was some fill put in to create that driveway?
Probably, I don't know.
All right, well, well, it just appears,
There's a pretty good size, I don't know what kind of tree that is, a spruce of some sort on the left side that looks like it's been there 20,
well,
30
anyhow,
years.
the-
So, I don't know.
well, anyhow, the reason I ask is, you know, this is a fairly large building. And I suspect there's going to be substantial rainwater runoff on it. Is there any plans to do any kind of wastewater control? You know, because you're right up against the edge of that slope, yes.
So, are you planning on guttering the building, is maybe what he's asking, and creating some diversion they're sometimes called rain gardens, where you'd funnel the roof drainage to just a small graded out area that helps to take the rainwater and filtrate it through the soil before it goes anywhere else.
Yeah,
So we're amenable to making sure that the water doesn't just quickly sheet flow off the roof, down that slope, eroding that slope, and quickly getting to the wetland. So it's a good
well,
point.
the other thing, I assume this is going to be a cement slab?
Yeah, I've spoken to the building department about it, been thinking about this for nearly a year now. And because it's going to be attached breezeway and everything, it has to be frost walls and full foundation.
Oh, all right. Well, that's good. Thank you.
Foundation costs the same amount as the building.
Say what?
The foundation price is the same as the building.
Well, you know, you're the one that wants the building.
Oh, yes. No, I'm just saying, it's not a slap deal. This is, well thought through construction.
Well, you know, I have to ask.
Of course. No,
Good.
thank you.
Do you have, off of Mr. Tripp's point, do you have a potential design in mind that you would contain this runoff with? I think we've had applications before where there's some kind of just containment system that might be subgrade and contain that water. More frequently, we're seeing those kind of things used for watering gardens, recycling the water. But an actual design as opposed to just a philosophical conversation. Yeah.
So if that's a catch-all point, and it's not a bad one from this board,
Yeah.
as to a condition of approval, you could suggest that the building department inspects a satisfied with a drainage design to catch the roof drainage prior to it hitting the wetlands and protecting it. Because basically, if we're on the screen where the word Google is, 2023 Google, I would say that is the area that is the likely downslope catchment area that is naturally existing right there, where there could be a small little bit of excavation right there to catch that water off the roof, and so it doesn't sheet flow right down the driveway as well, right onto Partridge Lane, because I don't think the Public Works would want that either.
The 2023 Google on the bottom right, or where?
Bottom left. It's really faint because it's in white. Do you see that? Owen,
Yes,
where I'm
yeah.
talking? Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes, the what? The stamp,
Yeah, it just.
watermark. Yep.
And I've been out to the property, so I know that you can see the slopes on this picture pretty well. But that is the area that it would naturally go, because there's a swell coming right down that side. If you could feed it right down to that area and then do a catchment area right in there, I believe believe we can satisfy perhaps the building department, maybe prior to any CO, that they would be satisfied with and their town engineer could do a quick review as well.
Mr. Wentworth, do you have any thoughts here of your, what you may be occasioned to see out there that might, we're having the discussion here and it's kind of on the fly, so instead of having something that we're just talking about, something that your department might be familiar with?
The sheet flow, the sheet flow we've never really dealt with off a single-family home.
Okay,
It's, I'll say a little unusual,
Mm-hmm.
not a bad point.
Right.
But, yeah, do a design and see what you can come up with for retention, detention, how, pick one.
Both words actually work. Yeah.
is it your suggestion, Mr. Pelican, that you do like dig out and rip
A
wrap?
small bio-retention area right there.
Got it, okay. Yeah, some of this is kind of common down on Germantown Road and around Island Pond. You know, a lot of those places are tight, they're right up against the water. Often the proposals that we'll see actually catch and contain underground, and then it's, like I said earlier, dispensed. But I understand that may be a little to the extreme, and but your idea, Mr. Pelican, it works for me. Mr. Tripp's the one that rose this idea up. How does that sound to you, Mr. Tripp?
I think it's acceptable.
Okay, and how would you phrase that, Mr. Pelican?
I guess I would suggest that you could say that, that the drainage as a result of the new construction will have a satisfactory design by the building department prior to any CO issued on this building.
Okay. We don't actually have a name for this, what we're doing, like 2 syllables?
I can be wordy. So,
No. I was just wondering if there was a common industrial or phrase or term that for this that
well,
we might all understand here.
that a bioretention area
Okay,
will be established to
That's-
assure the protection of the wetlands.
very good. All right, bioretention area. I like that.
Sure though.
Mr. Corbett, what do you think?
Sounds like a Pauly Shore movie.
Did he say Pauly Shore?
Yeah, sure.
All right. How's that sound from the code enforcement position, Mr. Wentworth?
Sounds like it, I mean, the design I think we should require.
Say again?
We should require the design.
Oh, God, okay, no, I just meant as far as the terminology and your comprehension of that and make
That
sure.
works for us,
All right,
yes.
very good, thank you. All right.
I guess you had brought up something that there's going to be, there might be water coming down the driveway too.
No more than currently exists.
No more than currently next. All right. That'll be his problem, no matter what.
All right, very good. I just need to make those notes before we proceed on. So, Mr. Tripp, you're all set. Mr. Dietzel, you're all set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Mrs. Moran, I presume as well?
I am.
Okay, so with that being said, we've gotten input from all our proponents and folks who have to monitor this. So with that, we can take a call to the public and see if there's anybody out there that wishes to speak on this matter. We have phone numbers that will be posted. So, anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this application, this is your opportunity to come forward. Likewise, if you're remote and wish to speak to this matter, phone numbers are 646-558-8656. At the prompting, please enter the meeting ID number, which is 323-909-140. In the event that you have a technical problem getting through, we provide a service number for you, which is 845-5585. It'll bring you to the board's clerk, and she can help assist you to get into the meeting. That being said, I see no one in the room rise at this time. Mr. Preventer, you see anybody out there?
Seeing none rise at this time, Mr. Chair.
Good, and if you are remote, just press *9, and we can get you into the meeting. We'll recognize your prompt. And so at this time, we'll ask if there's anybody out there who might be opposed to this application. This would be your time to come forward and have your thoughts heard. Likewise, the same phone numbers and way to get in here remotely apply, and just press *9 if you care to be heard. With that being said, I see no one rise in the room for opposition. So anybody out there, Mr. Preventer?
Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Then we'll consider that the board has met its statute requirement for abutters to be heard. And that being said, the applicants have a last opportunity to address the board before we go into deliberation. Gentlemen, anything?
Nope, I think we've stated our points, but we'll answer any questions if anything else comes up.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. With that being said, we need a motion go into deliberation.
Can
Mr.
can
Hold
I ask
on
one
that.
more question?
Yes, sir.
Is there any intention to blacktop your driveway instead of having it gravel?
If I can afford it at some point.
Okay. Just, I'm sure the water runs faster down a blacktop than it does gravel.
All right, very good. So with that, again, we can have a motion to go into deliberation.
So moved?
Mr. Tripp has the motion. Anybody want to second that, please?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Still has a second. Thank you very much. All in favor of going into deliberation to discuss this matter amongst the board, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Mr. Corbett, you with us on deliberation?
Yes, I'm also in agreement.
Very good. So anybody want to express some thoughts here?
I do, just very quickly, on the 5 criteria. The spirit of the ordinance is to protect the wetlands, and I think they have a very good plan to carry out the protection of the wetlands. And diminution, why I have a tough time with that word, of the value. I don't see how it has any effect on the properties. I really don't see any problem with this project, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Mrs. Moran?
I agree with what Mr. Dietzel said. I believe that the option that he is going with is better than what they have now, because regardless, he's going to park that equipment somewhere, and it's better contained this way.
Very good. Mr. Tripp?
I don't see any issues with the request for the variance. I think it's a sound solution, you know, given that he does some remediation for the water that's coming off the roof. That'll be acceptable.
Very good. So I think that it's a fair application. I think one of the things that hinges this for me, is the time that the property was developed, and the progression of and introduction of the prime wetlands afterwards starts to encroach on the value of a property owner's opportunity to make the most of his parcels, of his real land. So that weighs with me as well. and goes along with the constitutional value that we've set in New Hampshire. So that being said, I don't see a lot of opposition to this in my own mind. We have, let's discuss the conditions to the motion, which are subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections, and bio-retention area to be established for the runoff of the new building. And that would be condition number 2. Yes.
Reread that, because I'd written down the to protect the wetlands, so.
Yep.
Bioretention area to be established.
For the runoff from the new building.
Thank you.
Yep. So those 2 conditions, are there any others that somebody would like to add? Mr. Tripp, you need to add anything else here?
No, thank you.
Mr. Dietzel?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Moran?
No, thank you.
Mr. Corbett, anything from you?
No, I think it's good. I think that was an excellent catch by Mr. Tripp.
Okay, very good. So that being said, let's come out of deliberation. Mr. Dietzel, you want to help us out?
I make a motion to come out of deliberation.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Tripp?
I'll second that.
Very good. All in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, Mrs. Moran, you have a motion to read.
I do, thank you. I make a motion on case number 23-124, Colin and Kristen Tyler to grant a variance to the terms of Article 3, Section 165-20.a of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to allow the construction of a 32 by 40 garage and a 6 by 24 breezeway 40.1 feet from the edge of a wetland where a 75-foot setback is required at 13 Partridge Lane, parcel ID 09059-026, zoned LDR, as presented with the following conditions. We have 2. 1, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. 2, bioretention area to be established for the runoff from the new building. And that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second, please.
Second.
And Mr. Tripp seconds that, puts that motion on the floor. Now for the introduction of the finding of fact. The application is in the LDR zone. The application is for an attached garage to the building, to the domicile, and the wetlands were established after the lot was developed. The board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application and incorporates all meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. Anybody have anything to add to that finding of fact?
No.
Or disagree? Very good. Seeing no gestures there. So all in favor of moving this for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Mr. Corbett?
I vote yes.
Okay. Mrs. Moran?
Chair, I vote yes as well.
Mr. Dietzel?
Yes.
And Mr. Tripp?
I vote yes.
And the chair will make that unanimous by 5-0. So congratulations, Mr. Tyler. Looks like you have prevailed. So anybody who has feels aggrieved by this has 30 days to ask this board for a rehearing. After that, recourse would be to Superior Court.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good discussion.
Have a good evening. All right, next up, we have case number 23-125. Miss Michelle Boucher. Boucher, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you.
You feel like a professional now? You've watched the first
Well, I
hearing?
actually was jotting down a bunch of notes because I don't have a copy of my, my application with me, I'm sorry.
Very good. Well, we're going to
Okay.
take care of that. Mr. Wentworth, can you assist with that?
I probably was able to write down everything. for me.
Excuse me, could
That's
you
all right.
pronounce your name again, please?
Boucher?
Okay, Boucher.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jenny.
Because sometimes it's Boucher.
Yeah, Boucher.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
Oh, thank you, okay.
So we just ask that you can read the introduction page, but also but then the five questions to the application as you've presented them.
Okay. I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Let me see what you have in your hand.
Okay, the application? Yep.
Yeah, that looks like your face page there.
Yeah, sure.
Tells you what you're doing,
Okay, yeah, my,
okay? And then you go to the next pages, which are
Sure.
your 5 criteria,
you got it.
okay?
Yeah, my proposal is I would like to place an 8 by 12-foot shed. It is less than 100 square feet, 96 to be exact, in the rear corner of my lot. It is a brand-new Reed's Ferry shed. The shed will be on blocks, not a permanent structure. So number 1, the shed is a necessary storage solution that will be aesthetically pleasing, increasing my property value, and therefore the values of other homes in the area through comps and just increasing values for that. The shed will be far away from surrounding homes, leaving more than enough room for emergency vehicles if necessary. The health, safety, and general welfare of the community is not at risk. The shed will be 100% on my land, and no individual is at loss. The
That's, you're speaking to your substantial justice.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Yes, number 3, yes. Number 4, the shed is a beautiful, brand-new Reed's Ferry shed.
And you're speaking to the surrounding values property values will not be diminished,
I am.
okay?
Thank you. And number 4, literary enforcement of provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. Kind of a tough question to answer, but my interpretation of it was that the hardship for me is that my home has mainly a dirt basement that has a small area cut out for utilities and maybe just a few other items. But it takes on a great deal of water, and basically anything I put down there is ruined. The insulation is actually all moldy and falling down. I need to get what is down out of there, what is there now out, and remove all the insulation and do new insulation. I'm unable to store any, I can't store anything large, such as a snow blower or a lawnmower, generator, any kinds of tools or anything like that will rust. Any kind of other items such as recreational items or items for, crafting, the lawn, basically anything can't really be stored down there the way things are. I have a very small lot. The proposed location is really the only place to put it.
And you had section 2 under hardship, part A.
Correct.
And essentially, you're stating that you've already expressed that in section 1.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm really not sure how to go about this, so
That's all right.
I'm doing my best.
You've done an excellent job.
Okay, thank you.
And we have not
Oh, well,
had
thank you.
many people make as good a presentation on hardship, so
Okay.
you're well done.
Just be comfortable.
Could I make okay, thanks, all right.
All right, you feel
Could I
all
make
right
a
now?
Could I make a few additional points also?
Now you can elaborate in your own words.
Thank you, okay. So, so I've owned the property since 2014. When I bought it, it was a mess, and I have done a lot of work to it cosmetically and really improved my home and the overall neighborhood as a result. As I said, it's a very small lot, and that's the only suitable location for the lot. I live in my home by myself, so I care for the property myself, so, makes things, oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the location is in that far corner there. There's no other place for it. And as you can see, there's the bulkhead in the front that goes down, and that's a very small area. I think I put the dimensions on, I had a letter that I sent. And I put the dimensions of how big it is. It's like 9 by 13 down there or something. But I have a sub pump that goes off pretty much all spring, every half hour, literally. And throughout the year as well, when there's a lot of rain or snow melt. The abutting neighbors, I have spoken to both abutting neighbors. Rick Bazanga is in the back, and the joiners are on the side. Rick had sent an email. I don't know if you have a copy of that. I do here if you need it. But, yep, he's very far away. They have no opposition to me installing the shed. They're in favor. And I did speak with Rick, who said that he would be here today, but he apparently couldn't make it. Maybe he's joining remotely, I don't know. But he said that he would be here to speak in my favor. But unfortunately, he can't make it. So I think I had said that. I said that. I do have other photos, but you don't need them. It won't disrupt anything environmentally or historically. The only work that needs to be done to get it in there is to just trim a little bit of those trees that are hanging over. And that's on my land, and then they'll come in and clear the ground and put the gravel in, which is completely on my land.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think that's pretty much it.
you good there?
Yeah,
All right, well, let's see if there's any questions from the board. Mr. Dietzel?
sure.
I don't have any questions for the applicant.
Mrs. Moran?
And Chair, I don't either at this moment.
Mr. Corbett?
I don't really see any other option unless you want to take up like the entire backyard.
No, that's the dog area.
Yeah.
It's fenced in. And, I just wanted to say one other thing. Looking at the map, you'll see that almost every neighborhood, every property in the neighborhood has a shed that's right on their line or very, very close to it. It's very common. It's really just about every house. So, the joiners have 2 right there, and then just almost, if you see on the map, you'll see that there's many. That little garden there is a shared garden that Cindy and I work on together. So I'm very close with my neighbors.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
So for the record, Ms. Boucher has indicated a letter of support, which has come in from the Richard and Cynthia Joyner of 4 Worthley Road, addressed to code enforcement, and it supports this application. Mr. Wentworth, you have anything to add?
Can I ask a question?
You may.
Do you have any estimate as to what the setback from the property lines to the shed will be?
Yeah, it's small. It's like 3.5 to 5 feet.
3.5 to 5 feet on both sides?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But there's plenty of room to move around it, other than where the property line actually is. I mean, you can totally get around it, no problem.
Well, the reason I asked the question was just to ensure that there was some setback
There
from
is.
the property line.
Yeah,
And if you indicate it's 3 to 5 feet, then that's acceptable.
So our discussion from zoning board is from the code enforcement is that the request is for 3.5 feet from the side rear property lines.
yeah, and then after I had estimated that, I got the official, I don't know what the word is
Survey?
I'm looking for, but it looks like it's a little bit more than that. That it would be able to be a little bit more than that, but obviously it's not within the regulations.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, we're all set. And Mr. Wentworth, you don't have anything to add?
No, just that this is a fairly standard, it's a shed.
Okay,
Yes, that's it.
very good. 3.5 feet from the side property line. It's 8 by 12 Reed's Ferry shed. Nice, very
Yeah.
good.
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so let's see, we're going to take input from the public, which your neighbors may or may not call in on.
Okay.
I don't see anybody here, but we have to go through the process nonetheless. So we have some phone numbers posted on the screen, and at this time, we will make a call to the public. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this application, this would be your opportunity to do so. Noting the phone numbers on the screen, which are 646-558-8656, if you would like to come into this meeting remotely. At the prompting, you enter the meeting ID number, which is 323-909-140. In the event that you're having a technical problem getting into the meeting, you can call 845, I lost my note. 845, what was the rest of it? Hang on.
646-558-8656. Your meeting ID is 323-909-140. If you're having technical issues, please dial 845-5585. Somebody will be happy to help you.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Corbett. I found my notes just as you started, so I appreciate that support. So seeing no one rise in the room and coming forward to speak in favor of this, anybody out there, Mr. Preventer?
Mr. Chair, seeing none.
Okay, very good. So in that case, we'll make a call for anybody who's opposed to this application. This would be your opportunity to come forward, which includes the remote. Same phone numbers as Mr. Corbett has already indicated, and just press *9 and we will get you into the meeting at the prompt. Seeing no one rise and come forward now in opposition, you see anybody out there, Mr. Preventer?
Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Very good. So we will consider that the board has met its obligation for public input on this matter. And in that case, we can bring back to the board. And Mrs. Boucher, do you have anything left you'd like to add?
I think that's it.
Okay, good enough. So that being the case, we can take a motion to go into deliberation.
So moved.
All right. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Mr. Dietzel has a second. All in favor of going into deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Who would like to lead off the discussions? Mr. Corbett?
And it's really straightforward. And it's a small property. It's a shed. I think we've been begging for a shed for a long time. Don't really have much of an option. I don't really see any issue here.
Very good. And we should not deny any person a shed. And I think the hardship argument was very well done, as I alluded to earlier. Mr. Dietzel?
I have no objection.
Mrs. Moran?
Chair, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Yeah, I always urge caution when we say straightforward with sheds, because the next thing you know, they turn into a 1-hour discussion, but Mr.
I think I have a wet basement too, so I'm very empathetic.
Very good, all right. And Mr. Tripp, anything?
Well, I grew up in a house with a wet basement, but I also grew up with a house with a barn, so
No.
I didn't need a shed.
I would love that.
All right, well, let's take a look at the motion and get that structured, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. Anything anybody wishes to add to that?
No, thank you.
All right. Mr. Corbett, you all set?
Yes, I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. So we have the one condition to the motion, and everybody has spoken on this matter. So with that being said, we can take a motion to come out of deliberation.
So moved.
Mr. Tripp has a motion. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Dietzel has a second. All in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Mrs. Moran, you have a motion to read.
I do, thank you. I make a motion on case number 23-125, Michelle Boucher, to grant a variance to the terms of Article 6, Section 165-46.C.4 of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to allow the placement of an 8x12 shed less than 15 feet from the side and rear property lines at 8 Worthley Road, parcel ID 56037, zoned MDR, as presented with the following conditions. We have one, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. And that concludes the reading of the motion. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp has a second. That puts the motion on the floor. Before we proceed, let's introduce the finding of facts. This application is for an 8x12 shed, and the request is to have the shed 3.5 feet from the property line. And the application is in the MDR zone. Anybody wish to add or amend to the finding of fact?
No, thank you.
Seeing no gestures there, so all in favor of moving this for a vote, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Mr. Corbett,
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
did you say yes?
Yes, I'm in agreement.
Very good. Mrs. Moran?
Chair, I vote yes.
Mr. Dietzel?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
I vote yes.
And the chair will make it unanimous, so congratulations, Ms. Boucher. Your application has been granted. Anybody who has opposition or aggrieved by this has 30 days to let this board know. After that, recourse would be to Superior Court, but you're free to go and
Okay.
enjoy your dry shed.
Thank you so much.
That- All right, so next up, we have no other correspondence or other business before this board. We have the approval of minutes. I know they've been amended, so if we could have a motion to accept the minutes as amended, that would be beneficial. If anybody has any changes, let the clerk know. Can I have that motion, please?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Dietzel has a second on that motion to accept the minutes as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Corbett, you good with that?
Yes.
All right, very good. We have any other pending business? 2 coming up?
Coming up,
All right, very good.
21st.
All right. That being said, I guess we can take a motion to adjourn.
Chair, I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Moran. Second, please.
I'll second.
Mr. Tripp has a second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.